Now, joining me on the big interview this week is a man who is a top DJ from Belfast. He's also one of Northern Ireland's top record producers. And so far, he's got 8 platinum records and has more than 800 music releases on iTunes. Let's meet the man himself. It's Micky Modelle. Micky, welcome to the studio.
Hello, Robin. How are you keeping?
I'm good. It's a big week for you this week. We'll talk about things that are happening with the OES Centre in just a second. But talk about you first of all. People know your music. People go and see your live gigs. But not a lot of people actually know the real Micky Modelle. Is that intentional, or is it because you're a really private person?
I'm just a normal person. People who sort of know me well, like obviously like you and stuff like that. But I work an awful lot, work hard, studio work, and I'm not really much out in the social scene as such. I just do my gigs and things like that. So, and I'm always traveling.
So things have been great. 3 decades now you've been in the business doing this. Something like 8 platinum albums, 800 tunes on iTunes alone.
Yeah, it seems quite a lot, but you don't really see that when you're on the way up, that type of stuff, so you just really keep knocking the records out week by week and, doing the albums and things like that. And you sort of look back now and you go, God, that was quite a lot of stuff that I did, but you just never really realize it at the time because you're just in such emotion of doing the work,
So taking you right back to the start, how did your interest in music begin? Do you remember the first time you heard a record and thought, my God, that's great?
I always loved music, and I did music at school because it was the only thing I was really interested in, to be honest. But first records, things like obviously ABBA, the Bee Gees, that was really who, and still today are my favourite bands. So I would have always had that interest. And DJing just came from that really, when I left school, I started going in, obviously in the 80s then it was, so it would have been very vinyl orientated and technology wouldn't have been great, not like today where you have USBs and all of this sort of stuff, but that would have been my real interest then.
And was it difficult starting in Belfast at that time? Because remember, we were still at the height of the Troubles going on and stuff.
Yeah, it would have been difficult. There would have been, believe it or not, there would have been a lot more venues open at that time, so DJing jobs, you would have had to cart around boxes of records, which today you don't have to do that. A lot of people walk in with laptops and things like that. So, there was a lot of venues, which really helped because it would have been a lot easier to get work at that time, so I didn't really find it very hard getting work in the early days, no.
And those days as well, it would have been more difficult to get your hands on the records. Now you just go on, you download them straight away, but those days you had to search for really good stuff, didn't you?
Yeah, again, as you know my history, I was a manager of various shops in Belfast, vinyl shops, record shops, all the DJs would have come in and we had a lot of great years doing that. And it was sort of an industry as such, in itself, people even on a social sort of thing, would have come into the record shops on Saturdays, and a lot of my friends that I still have today, including you would have come in and out of the shops and stuff like that there, so we sort of missed that because the vinyl thing and the record shops are all gone literally now, I sort of see a surge coming back, but it's not going to be like what it was 30 years ago,
Do you remember your first DJ gig?
My first real DJ gig, I think was on the Dublin Road. Would it have been Pips International or something like that? Yeah. Upstairs, I think, as far as I can remember back, and that was sort of like a bar stroke club, but
that was kind of one of the first VIP clubs that Belfast had, wasn't it?
Yeah, I do. I think that was one of my first real gigs. Yeah, and it was great.
And then I suppose after that, you've seen clubs come and go in Belfast over the years.
Many clubs, and a lot of great venues, you look around, and you just say to yourself, God, where did they all go? Like even further afield, Donegal, and places like that. We had some amazing venues, Exit 15, what was the other one? Traxport Rush, the Met Arena, there's just so many amazing venues, but they're all gone now.
So from DJing then, how did the records start then? How did you discover you had this talent for making records?
Because I was in the record shops, obviously, I seen other DJs in the early days making records, and I said to myself, God, I want to have a go at that. And I had sort of been gathering equipment up at home, and I didn't really know how to use it, if I'm honest, so it just, at that time I would have went and hired an engineer, and told them what I wanted, and that's really how it started off, and I listen back to the early records and go, my goodness, they sound terrible. But, it was educational, and you just move on with it, and just keep on making the records,
So how did you then go to getting that first big record deal then?
Well, again, because of the record shops, I was working there maybe 3 days a week. I had maybe 3 gigs at the weekend. The following week, I would have went to London Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, come home Thursday, did my Friday, Saturday, Sunday gigs and stuff like that. And it was just all getting too much. I didn't actually have the time, so I stopped working in the record stores and started to concentrate on making the records, because I had various different acts going on, Tough Twins in the early days and things like that. And we were having great success at them, and I was working along with people like Lisa Pinup, Anne Savage, Rachel Auburn, people like, in those days, Tony DeVee was like God to us. Yeah. He was supporting my records and people like that, and I was signing records to compilations in America, and you were getting releases in Australia and South Africa, and it was just a really good time. So I decided to set up my own studio and continue on with, trying to make the records and make that as, my living and DJing at the weekends and stuff. So from that, it obviously progressed into bigger labels, knowing what you're doing, and getting better remixes. For instance, Samantha Mumba, Gotta Tell You,
And I suppose for you, the big break really came in 2007 with Dancing in the Dark, when you teamed up with Jesse.
Yeah.
When you were putting that together, did you imagine how big that was going to become?
Never in a million years, Robin. You make records, and I could honestly say, maybe some producers, do sort of have that sense, if a record's going to be good or bad. Yes, we all sort of know that. You get excited about it when you're making the records, but I don't think you can ever tell, how good or how big a record is going to be. You can't turn around when you're making that record and say, I think this is going to be a #1 record. I think it's hard to determine that, really. But, you sort of know that it's good, and I sort of knew it was good, but 10 years later, you're saying to yourself, my goodness, this record is still massive.
And it must have been a great feeling when they said to you, Micky, it's going into the charts this week.
It was amazing, because on the day of the charts that it went into the charts, top 10, I think it was JK and Joel were doing the chart show at the time, and they rang me and sang happy birthday, because it was actually on my birthday that it went into the charts, and I just couldn't believe it. I mean, that was a great moment. And again, it was a smash all over the world. We signed that everywhere, so it's really successful.
Now, this week in particular here in Belfast is a big week for you. The Oh Yeah Centre have finally decided to give you some recognition. And it's different because you're the first dance artist in there. You're sitting alongside people like Van Morrison and the Undertones and Paul Brady and people like that. And now Micky Modelle has his own cabinet in the Oh Yeah Centre. So what's going into the cabinet?
I have a lot of my discs and awards. Obviously, you remember the Buzz Awards. I won the Best DJ 3 or 4 times. So I've got my awards in there, my platinum discs, things like Dancing in the Dark, and a lot of the compilations that I'm part of. I put together. I've been always collecting my concert tickets, so I've concert tickets from day one. Things like the Nolans at, which is very funny, at Strand Picture House, and right through AC/DC and all of those sorts of things, and Aha, Erasure, whatever, but I've got all of those as well, which may seem funny to people, but I love concerts. I love music, so... I
love the eclecticism of that, from the Nolans to AC/DC.
Well, exactly. Says it all. I loved it all, and I'm passionate about music. I just love it, and concerts are always something that I find that I like to relax and go and watch bands, like I was at Erasure a couple of weeks ago in London, and just hearing those songs again, it's like, wow, it's great time to be listening to that music, growing up through all of that stuff. It's amazing.
And everything that you do, the thing that fascinates me about you is everything you do is totally live. I've seen DJs coming into venues where somebody has slipped a CD player underneath the desk and they've mimed it, basically. But watching you it's happening so fast and so quick, isn't it?
I have been on, I'm not going to mention any names, obviously. I've been on with various DJs who walk in and don't know where the headphone socket is and put in a mixed CD, which is not really very cool in my opinion. If you're paid to do a job and you're passionate about people like us who are old school, who have come through the vinyl and stuff, it's not very good when you see that happening. But fair play to anybody who wants to do it, that's great. But it's not for me. I still like to do every gig generally live. Yeah.
And the fact that you've been here for over 3 decades, the fans must still be loyal.
Oh, absolutely, you know, and you know, you go to some of the bigger concerts that we would do, you know, and the front row, you see a lot of the older faces, and it's just so rewarding to see them still coming to your events after all of this time, you know. And I've got a big event on in Belfast. I'm doing the scooter event at the Belfast Telegraph building, which isn't far from here. That's in a few weeks, and that's sold out, 3,000 people. So I'm expecting to see quite a lot of older faces at that.
What about the dance scene here in Northern Ireland? Has it declined a little bit over the years, or have we still got a good, strong scene out there?
One thing I will say, you know, we breed really great DJs. You know, if you think back to, you know, when I was, you know, starting out as well, you know, you've got people who I respect like Robbie Nelson, Glenn Malloy, Gleave Dobbin, Fergie, you know, people like that, you know, Colin Hamilton and Lush, you know, all of those people, Mark Wesley. I mean, we breed great DJs, you know, David Holmes, I mean, a worldwide star doing soundtracks and everything now. You know, you look back and you go, we have got a fantastic scene. People love music, kids love music here. They breed great DJs, you know, and I think we're a driving force. Always thought we were a driving force.
But it's sad, isn't it, that we don't have the clubs anymore? We don't have the Met in Armagh, we don't have Tracks, we don't have these places.
Yeah, but a lot of, you know, these people have turned it around as, you know, they have to make music these days to sort of have that major success. Personally, I don't think I would still be doing the stuff that I'm doing if I didn't have hit records. I've got to be honest. You know, you can be a great DJ, but if you don't have those sort of, you know, hits all the time and stuff like that, David Guetta, Tiesto, all of those names, they're famous because of their records and their collaborations and things like that. So I think Northern Ireland people have already cottoned on to that. And, you know, you've got good producers out there who are playing all over the world, people like Shugs and stuff, doing the trance stuff. And, you know, those things matter, you know, and they're doing really well, and I'm glad to see it, you know.
Now, what about your whole image as well? Because you're famous for the Bling image, and you're famous for your baseball caps.
Yeah.
You're famous. Did that happen by accident, or was that planned?
No, just, you know, I love fashion. I always loved fashion, you know, and I think if I hadn't done music, I would have done fashion, to be truthful, you know. So even from a very early age, I was always conscious about what I would wear, and I had my own sort of way of doing things and style and stuff like that. So, and I still love it today. Maybe getting a little bit old for it, I don't know. But sure, yeah, you only live once.
Will you keep going forever, do you think?
I don't know, Robin. I love music. I think, you know, maybe DJing, if I did another 5 or 10 years, I think that would maybe be it for me. But I would still love to, you know, obviously produce music, maybe find some artists and, you know, produce for them, you know, maybe manage them or something like that, you know. But when you love music, it's very hard to be away from it all the time, you know. If I was away from music for a couple of days, I don't think I would know what to do with myself, to be honest.
Great stuff. Well, Micky, it's been great talking to you.
And great talking to you as always, Robin.
And thank you for joining us and doing this show for us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.